Hi everyone, my name is Mary Magnuson. I'm the Blind and Community Broadband Program Administrator, and I'd like to welcome you to today's roundtable session on speed tests. I'm going to turn it right over to Bill.
Thanks, Mary. And mapping is always a huge issue on broadband. Where are services available and how good are they? I mean, we hear that from all over the place. We put maps up on the wall that come from the FCC data, and people chuckle and complain and they say that's not accurate. Here's where my house is and I don't have service there. And we think that the speed test will be a great way to provide another source of information that can document people's availability. And we know there's lots of questions about it, but we know that it can be a great tool for really illustrating, providing that picture of broadband availability. And so Blandon Foundation has been very involved in trying to make a statewide broadband test happen, and working with the Minnesota Rural Broadband Coalition and the Association of Minnesota Counties, we've been able to make that happen. So the key part of this now for success is to get people to take the test and then to make use of the data. And Nathan Zacharias with the Minnesota Rural Broadband Coalition is been tasked with making that happen. And we're confident that he will. And he's here to tell us about the test, the tools that are available to promote the test in your communities, and just everything about it. So Nathan, I'm going to turn it over to you. And do you have slides?
I do, yes.
Okay.
I do have a presentation.
Good. So we'll just let you take over there and share your screen.
Okay, thank you so much, Bill. Thank you for having me here today. I'm very excited to share this news and a small update about how far we've come in the first week, which is some good progress, I think. I'm going to pull up a slideshow here quick, and we will go. So I've actually got a legislative recap that we might be able to do at the end if there's some interest and we got a little time. It's a one-page thing, but I think I'll jump right into the speed test information. Here's a look quickly at what our one of our graphics is for the speed test. So we've got this as a postcard size graphic, and it's fairly simple. It gives you information about what you need to do to take the speed test. I've got, just to start things off, I've got a whole package of media and comms material that I can provide to you for you to use to spread the word about this. But let's dive into what's exactly going on here. So as Bill alluded to, mapping for broadband has been sort of all over the place, and it's made expanding broadband infrastructure more difficult than it should be. And most of the time, depending on who's doing the mapping, our maps aren't really more detailed than a township, a county, or even a census block. And as we all know, census blocks in urban areas are usually, they're fairly rectangular. There are a few city blocks and they're easy to spot. But in rural Minnesota, they're different sized, and sometimes they're very large. Sometimes they cut across multiple communities, across counties, townships. And sometimes when maps are made, the census block, if they're using the census block as the way to map things, if one home within a census block is served, a whole block is then considered served. And we've heard so many stories about, well, the line goes right past my house, or my neighbors a little bit down the road have service, but I don't, and I can't get it. Yet on a map, these people may be part of a zone that's considered served. So this project is getting at examples just like that. Our goal is to provide house by house data about broadband speeds so we can get a better picture of what service is in especially rural Minnesota, where we know there's pockets of no service at all. And also in places in the metro area that are maybe lots of pockets of services available, but then there's some areas where there isn't service. We know there might be something going on. Maybe people can't afford service, maybe something else. So we can look at areas
Nathan?
like that too. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you speak louder or turn up your volume?
Yeah, I'll get a little bit closer to my microphone.
Thank you.
Is that a little better?
Much better.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. So here's a map of what the current state uses as their official map. And this is from the Department of Employment and Economic Development. You can see this is by a township, and this is the northern, about third of the state. Blue areas are where there's more than 90% of those townships have access to 25 download and 3 upload. This is the standard map that we've been using for quite some time, and it's considered one of the better ones in the state. And the next slide here, this is a quick glimpse at what the speed test map is going to be putting out. This is current data that I pulled from a screenshot last night. This is the same area more or less, but you can see that even within those areas that had lots of blue, we've still got red dots and yellow dots, which mean that the speeds are not up to the 25 download by 3 upload. And that's important context for this map, for local people or for local leaders to make decisions about broadband networks that they want to build, as well as state leaders for using this for funding purposes too. And I'll do a bit deeper dive on the map towards the end of the slideshow too. So this won't be the last that we'll see of this. So the coalition has been considering this idea since it came together. This has been something that, as Bill said, people have been talking about for a very long time. And in the spring, Rams and St. Louis County started a successful pilot project, and they partnered with a Minnesota startup called GeoPartners to do the mapping and the technology. The project was successful in St. Louis County, so they expanded it to Itasca and Koochiching counties. And during the pilot project, about 7,000 speed tests were taken. So the coalition and Blandon and all sorts of organizations looked at this and said, we got to take this statewide. This has been a success at the local level, and now we need to move this to the state level. We don't have this information. No one in the country has this information. Let's be a leader on this. Let's help our rural communities out. So we partnered with GeoPartners again, and as well as the Association of Minnesota Counties to do outreach on this. And so we've been doing this since August 3rd, last Monday. And this is the second or third presentation I've given on this. So you guys are getting a very, very early look at what the presentation looks like, as well as some of the earliest results from this that haven't been shared with really anybody else. So as of about 10 minutes ago, 11,807 speed tests have been taken across the state, which is a huge jump from where we were just a week ago. KSTP TV featured the Minnesota speed test in a story last week on their news. It was I was able to do an interview with the reporter from KSTP. They did a great job promoting it. They've been sharing it all across social media. We've been getting a lot of attention from that, and I saw it was really great to watch. As soon as the story dropped, I was able to watch the speed test just roll in over the hours after it. So our goal for this is really to create the most accurate broadband map in the country. And as I said before, to give community leaders the tools that they need to expand broadband networks. So when someone's when a county or a township or even a regional center or whatever it might be, when they're coming together as a community, we need to give them the tools that they need to expand these networks. If they don't have accurate data about who has service, then they're not going to be able to build the best networks. They might be able to build a good one, but we think that they can be better. And having the best information out there is only going to help them. We're also looking to prepare our maps and data to present to the state legislature during the 2021 session. The state will be developing its biennial budget in the upcoming legislative session. It's going to be difficult. We all know that the state's going to be in precarious financial situations because of COVID. This is nothing new. This is something that every state is going to be dealing with. But we think that, especially because of the pandemic and how much more people are depending on broadband, that this information is going to be crucial to present to state leaders to say, now is the time for investment. This isn't the time to cut back. This isn't the time to say, well, maybe come back next year. No, this is exactly the time that we need more broadband investment. So I have to say a quick thank you here, obviously to Blandon. The leadership that Blandon's shown on this has been incredible. Helping do the fundraising, coming up with this, just making this happen in general. We've been able to work with Blandon to get support from Best Buy, from the Minnesota Initiative Foundations, the Mardeg Foundation, RAMS, Minnesota Power, ICS, Mining Minnesota, Great River Energy. The doors that have been opened because of this are incredible. We're constantly getting more requests for what can we do to help? How can we help with outreach? What can we do to get involved? And that's what this next slide is for. So what can you do to help? What can we do to collaborate on this? The first thing that you can do just on a personal level is to share the link with your networks, your friends, and your families. This is a crowdsourced project. That means it's not possible without participation, plain and simple. It's our job to drive that participation, but we need your help to get the word out about this. And one thing I like to stress here is that if you feel you have a great connection or you feel you have a crappy connection, we need to know either way. If we're looking at a town that has a whole bunch of green dots on the map, and then all of a sudden there's a couple blocks of red dots or yellow dots, we know something's going on there. And as I alluded to earlier, maybe that's because there isn't, maybe there's a pocket of people that aren't able to afford broadband, or maybe there's some service issues, but we can then drill down into that information if we have that context of people around them that are all saying, yeah, we've got great internet here and it's working great for us. So it's just as important to take the test regardless of what your internet speed is. The next thing you can do is host a presentation just like this for your organization. It could be a county board meeting, it could be a city council meeting, whatever that might be, a monthly meeting, a quarterly meeting, just a simple phone conference, whatever it is, this sort of presentation helps spread the word. You can also send out social media posts, blog posts, include this in your newsletter, with information about what to do. And I have those resources for you. So we have flyers, we have social media post templates, we have a list of talking points, any sort of information you might need or resources, I can provide that for you. You can also, and you should, as Bill was saying earlier, take the test yourself. I have talked to a lot of people who are getting this information out to their organizations, and I'll ask them, well, have you taken the test? And they'll say, no, I haven't. Take the test yourself. It's huge. That's one of the best ways. And just get a hold of me with any contact me with any outreach opportunities that you might think of. Our goal here is to talk to as many people as possible. This is going to be my life, at least for the next 6 months. So I am constantly having these conversations, and I'm happy it does not matter how small or large the organization is. I'm I want to talk to somebody, whether that's the local Lions Club or a statewide organization. It doesn't matter. I'd love to talk to them about how they can help. So from here, we'll take a look at the speed test and how it works for those of you who haven't had a chance yet. Let's see. I'm going to stop my share and restart it. Just give me 1 second here. Nope, that's not it. Hang on 1 second. I shared the wrong screen. There we go. So we'll go back here for a second. So this is the Broadband Coalition's website. This is what our landing page looks like. And as you can see right here at the top, we're introducing our broadband speed test initiative. So you just click the link. It's very simple. Excuse me. So this is where the speed test is housed. I'll say, let's enter my exact address. And you just click, let's do it. So let's see, that's my street number. And you include your address information. There's also an option to exclude a portion of your address if you're concerned about privacy. So I'll say my monthly internet cost is about $50, and we'll check the address. And here the speed test is running. It's a pretty straightforward speed test. Most of you, I'm guessing, have taken a speed test like this before. It runs on its own, and you can see down here near the bottom, I have Comcast at my apartment in St. Paul, and I've got about 80 down and about 5 up, which is pretty close to what I pay for. It's early in the day, not quite everybody is streaming Netflix right now, so the download speed is pretty good. And so once it's completed, that's all you do. It's logged as a dot on the map, and the information is compiled into a map, which I'll be showing you right here. So this is what the state looks like right now. You can even see in Wisconsin, the media coverage has generated a handful of tests in Wisconsin. But up here in the northern third of the state, a lot of these tests were here from the work that Rams in St. Louis County started. But anything basically below Mille Lacs was empty before last week. So we've got a lot more participation from the southern 2/3 of the state, which is exciting. Excuse me. So we'll jump down to, let's zoom in on the range. We got a lot of dots up here. Let's take Hibbing, for example. We'll zoom in on Hibbing. So a green dot here on the map is, when you hover over it, it will tell you they've got 93.7 download, 12.4 upload. It tells you the date that they took the speed test, what time, and as well as their provider. And again, green measures something that's over 25 download and 3 upload. There's also a blue dot for very, very, very fast connections. I can't recall off the top of my head, but it's close to gig connections are measured with a blue dot. So those are really great to see. Yellow dot, let's see, let's find one that's, here's a CenturyLink. This is 12 down and 0.7 up. And so they've got about half of what the standard is, but it's not nothing. And so that's what the yellow dot is. It says, well, look, they've got some connection, but it's not up to par. It's not exactly what we want to see. And then a red dot here is, we've also got a CenturyLink here. This is 4 download and 0.4 upload. So this is saying, well, this is getting pretty close to a speed that's not really workable for a whole lot. You might be able to check email, browse the web, but if you're doing any sort of data intensive work, it's not really going to do much for you. And a black dot is somebody that has checked the box that says, I have nothing here. There is no internet service available for me whatsoever. So even within a town where we see a lot of green dots here, where we know that service is good in towns. Mediacom's, I mean, this is 116 down and 11 up. That's a great connection. Even a town like this, we're seeing some disparities here. And then we can think again, like I said before, what's going on here with the red dots? Is this somebody that doesn't want to pay for it? Is this somebody that can't afford it? Is this somebody that just says, I don't really need that great of a connection, I just need something? We can look at that a little further. So you look out into the countryside, though, once you get out of these towns, and you stop seeing as many green dots, and you start seeing a lot more red dots and black dots and yellow dots. One other thing that I've found interesting here, if we take a look, is you can then hover over on the left side here, or on the right side, I should say. These are all the providers. So you can then look and see, how is, let's see, CenturyLink doing? And you can zoom out a little further. How is CenturyLink doing across the region? A lot of red and yellow. How is, let's see, Midco, you can see up by Ely, has quite a few green dots on the map. They're looking fairly good. But you can do that for all the different providers. So here is, what was the one that I just saw that had a bunch of greens?
Nathan?
Mm-hmm.
Once you've taken the speed test and you want to check back in, is there an address to get to the map without having to take the test, or is that the...
Yeah, so you can go right back to the same link. And instead of plugging anything in, you can just click View Map, and it will take you right to it.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is, as you can see, I'm already getting a little bit into you can play around with this map. You can look at all sorts of information. You can spend hours on this. And I already have, I was getting down my own personal rabbit hole there for a second, but there's all sorts of overlays. There's a lot that we can do with this. We can work with geo partners to tailor, say you want just the results of a certain county, and you want to use that for maybe a project that you're working on. We can save that and overlay that map and essentially zoom in on a county and take a look at what's going on there. And you might be able to use that for a project you're working on or questions that you might have. So there's a lot of opportunity here for use of this data, and we plan to have this map publicly available and the data publicly available once we're hoping to have by January 1 a fairly good idea of what the stock is in the state, and from there we'll move on. But this will be live. The speed test will be live until next August, so there's plenty of time to participate in this. It's not going away anytime soon. I think from there, I'll take any questions if there are any, and yeah.
So one of the things I like about this is the ability for local people to generate huge returns, local returns, and have that data specifically for their use. So even though this is a Minnesota statewide speed test, it could be Bob's Township speed test project that they could make a big effort, get everyone in the township to do the test and show that availability. So I think that's one of the powers of this thing. The data together in aggregation will be interesting, but a lot of the power is at the local level.
Yeah. You're exactly right. One thing I should also mention here is right now you see the county overlay on this. We can overlay this by legislative district, by township, by school district. There's all sorts of ways we can parse this data.
Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at this, is it possible, I see you've got several different companies listed, but I also know that a lot of these companies have different ways wireless spectrum, different tools like that. Is it possible to splice the company as to how you're getting service if you're getting it through, I don't know, band class 17 or 14 or 13?
So I would have to check with the guys that are running the tech on this. The short answer is I don't know, but I do know that they can tell the difference between a cellular connection. So if you're using a hotspot, they can tell the difference between that and something that's probably like fiber, like in the ground. I'd have to get back to you, but I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I'd like to talk more to you about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nathan, this is Becky Laurie.
Hi, Becky.
I'm totally impressed. I'm totally impressed with this project. I'm blown away. One thing I've noticed of my 61 employees, 47 are now working remotely, and a lot of them are having a really difficult time. You don't have to answer me right now, but think about, I'm playing in my head, should I've got an executive team meeting later today, and should I talk to them about suggesting that every employee, the 47 that are, a lot of them having really not good reception from their home, taking this test? And, just think about it. Is this something that as a business could help us improve our employees working remotely?
Yes, I don't need any time to think about that at all. That it's a resounding yes. As I said earlier too, even perhaps your employees that have good internet, those tests are just as important to us as the folks who don't have the greatest connection or might not have any. Yeah, I think it would be a wonderful idea to bring this up. We need as much participation as we can get, and yeah, I completely agree.
Becky, I think one thing that would be really valuable for you is to ask your employees to do it, and then to kind of write down their results and report them. And then you could go to your legislator and say, look, here's half my employees who are trying to do medical records, computer coding, have terrible broadband. That really impacts our company, and it impacts their quality of life and ability to really earn a living. So I think that's an especially interesting perspective of how, if we think about United Healthcare that has so many remote workers in Northeast Minnesota, if they did that, they could really say, well, look here's the impact on our specific company, a major employer in a region that is being diminished in their ability to do work. If people are sitting at their computer waiting for a response, back from the computer, that's wasted time. If that happens, if it's 5 seconds for every record, that might be 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day for an employee of a company like that. That's a great idea.
Completely agree. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, you should write a proposal up for me, Bill.
I'll do that.
This is
Oh, okay.
This is Barbara from Lesueur. Can I get it by township for Lesueur County? We're actually meeting with all the townships now, going around seeing if we can throw CARES Act dollars into broadband.
Yes, I will talk to our tech guys and see if right now, let me see. I actually noticed that it's interesting you say that, because there was quite a few tests that popped up. So this is sort of a little
We've been promoting it big. We've sent it out on Facebook, and we've sent out a constant contact to 800 people 2 days ago. So this is
I've noticed
2 days.
I was looking at it, all of a sudden a bunch of tests popped up in Lesueur. I was like, what is going on here? So thank you, because I've been wondering for the last couple of days. I'm like, boy, something's been happening here.
Well, and I was at a township meeting last night in the southern part, and they were, they said they had no broadband issues. They had, two of them had access to MediaCom, and that was fine. The other ones looked down, they don't even have email addresses.
Yes, I will definitely talk to our folks, and we can connect offline about how we can
Great.
collaborate on this.
All right, great, thanks.
Hey Nathan, this is Perry. Would we be able, we've been doing, we did surveys last year and this year, our own surveys. Would there be a way for us to share our data with you so you could depict it?
Yeah, we should definitely connect. I think that's a great idea. Short answer is yes. I'm pretty sure there's a way for us to collaborate on this and to essentially plug in data about speed tests. I'd have to talk to our tech guys and see what exactly they need, but I think it's possible. So
yeah, it was ArcGIS guys did it, so they should be able to share it with your tech guys as a shape file. We're in Scott County.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I'll connect. I got your contact information. I'll connect with you afterwards.
All right, and I will drop actually. I can drop in the chat. I'll drop my contact info before.
Okay, great.
We head out here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Nathan,
Yes.
David Asp, Dakota County, sent out earlier this week to a few providers in the county this information, and they were going to post it on their page and contact their customers. And then I organized a group that we're meeting later this week with all the schools in Dakota County and a few schools in Rice County that we're gathering together to apply together for some of these grants. And I encourage them to work with their district to try to have their staff and students and trying to put the word out. So
thank you. That's incredible. If you need somebody to, if they're looking for more information or they want a presentation or demonstration like this, please let me know. I'm happy to join in whatever way I can. But that's incredible. Thank you very much for that.
And I just had a few minutes ago, my one of my senior managers in the county are starting to ask questions because I fed her this information, and they might want to spread it with all the citizens and do some posting and some surveys and stuff.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I have a comms package which has the flyer that you guys saw earlier in the presentation. It's got some basic talking points. It's got some social media templates that you can customize for whatever your community or region or organization looks like. That might make it a bit easier for people to talk about this rather than having to talk about it with a project that they're not running. We've got some templates and stuff and information that's accessible. Just shoot me an email. I'm happy.
Nathan, is that right on the coalition website?
So we don't have I don't have the comms package on the coalition website just yet, but we can work to get that up there if that's easier. Otherwise, for now, it's send me an email and I can send that out directly to you for now.
Okay. So I'm expecting soon for a lot more dots in Dakota County.
I hope so. It's that would be. I'll be keeping an eye on that. I'm making a note of all of these locations, and I'm really excited to watch them pop up. I know this is very nerdy, but I sit and look at this map for a lot of the day and see where could we get more participation here, there, and like I said earlier with LeSueur, I was I knew something was going on down there, and just knowing that this is already going on is really encouraging to me.
One of my
back to school effort right now, it seems like schools are sending a lot of information to families about internet and connectivity and distance learning, that this would be something that, I don't know if our rural school board association or rural education association would be, if they're on board to spread the word on this, that would be a
Yeah,
great vehicle.
You're absolutely right. I'm going to be working this week with the superintendents and hopefully the school boards. I'm working to get to get in front of the right people to help get that, because even if this was sent home in every kid's backpack, I mean, maybe the parents aren't as likely to take the test, but the kids will. I know that the young people that are connected all the time are more than happy to show how they need a better internet connection to do all the things that they need to. So that's this week's project for me.
On negatively, got a little bit of feedback from at least one district because they don't want to overwhelm the students and the teacher and everything with all this COVID stuff all hitting them all at once. So they didn't want to have this project take away from what they're trying to do otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of grants and different things that are all coming due in the next few weeks that they need submitting, which will take up a lot of time too.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, part of the reason we're promoting it down here is we're handing out T-Mobile hotspots for kids to work at home. And our T-Mobile scores on the ones we already have really suck big. So that's where this is really timely to get the schools out there testing, so we have a better idea of what their issues are when we're handing out hotspots that aren't working.
So there's a couple questions, Nathan. How does somebody enter a black dot for no service if they don't have service to start with?
Yeah, I'll show you real quick. It's very easy.
I think the point is, if you don't have internet, how do you enter a black dot?
So you would have, if you don't have internet, presumably you either use a cell phone or you go to a public library or a parking lot, whatever local business might be providing public Wi-Fi for you. So we're encouraging people to go to that spot and tell exactly where they're getting their public Wi-Fi from regularly. Also, here you can see on the screen share, you can enter an address with no available service, and it looks fairly similar to what would look like if you were just entering a regular speed test. You plug in all of this information, and then you check a box that says, why do you not have service here? And that tells us, well, it might be too expensive, it's not available, I don't have a computer. All these options are available to you to tell us why exactly there's no service at your house. So it's not just, oh, I don't have service and we don't know. We're hoping to get some context here. But yeah, a cell phone or using public Wi-Fi that you might otherwise use.
Okay. And then a second question from Terry Smith. When and how will this meeting be online for, remote viewing and for spreading the word about it? And so usually by the end of the day, these recordings are up. They're always posted on the Blanded on Broadband blog. And so that's announced on the blog. It's blandedonbroadband.org. And you should, if you're on this call and you're not on the blog, you're missing out on a lot of great information. So that's where we announce it, and the web address will be there. And I suspect that Nathan would capture that address and put it up on their site as well. Mm-hmm. That's a hint there, Nathan.
So Nathan, how long is this test going to be going on?
Yeah, so the initial phase, I should back up a second. There's no playbook for this. And since this is a first in the nation type deal, there's really no one else has this. Washington State is currently working on this, but nobody else has done this. So we're not exactly sure of an exact roadmap. Our first push at this is going to be use the fall to collect as much information, as many speed tests as possible, and have something to present by the first of the year or the 1st of February. But the speed test is going to be live until next August. So we'll be able to continually get updated information throughout the next calendar year.
Nathan, is there a phone number that people could call if they don't have internet to report in or anything?
We don't. Well, I suppose they could call me, and I could record that. but we don't really have a dedicated phone line
Yeah.
set up right now.
That'd be interesting to get one and then just have a voicemail on it that people could leave their name and address and say they don't have internet service. I don't know. We'd have to figure out an automated survey system or something. I think it's an interesting idea, especially since libraries are generally, are libraries reopened now? To some limited capacity? I'm not sure.
No, I don't. Our library here in Grand Rapids is only doing like pick up and drop off and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Ours are open on a limited basis. Yeah,
Okay.
we can definitely do some advertising there.
Okay, so Terry Smith says she's the library director and they're limited in access. So that is a challenge for folks. If you're totally disconnected, number one, to reach them, to let them know about this test is hard. Although if there was on Channel 5 News, that might have been an interesting thing. So I think, if we have many people have it, 90% of the people are connected in some way, to have, if we can get the word out there and spend our energy there, that's a huge, huge benefit.
Yeah, one avenue that I'm taking here is I'm trying to collaborate a bit with AARP because I know that a lot of seniors don't have the greatest internet. I know that even going out to my grandparents' house, they're in their upper 80s, and they simply just don't understand exactly what the internet is to begin with, but they don't understand download and upload speed all that well. And so working with an organization like AARP is going to help us get more accurate information about what internet connections that seniors are getting right now. And seniors are especially during the pandemic, are the best candidates to be using telehealth and should be having the best internet to help them get that done. This isn't something that they should have to think about. They shouldn't be thinking about the tech. It should just work. So that's one avenue that I'm really excited about and hoping for some collaboration there.
So Nathan, did you have a flyer that you could email out to us that we could hand out to libraries so we don't need to do our own?
I absolutely do.
Great.
I would just need, I'll make note of that. I dropped my email address in the chat box.
Okay.
If you guys could send me an email, since I don't have all of your contact information.
Yep.
If you need anything please send me an email, and I'll get right back to you on it.
Nathan, this is great that you're trying to do this. And I'm hoping to talk more to you because this is something we've wanted to do at the Department of Public Safety, and it's been a challenge to get what kind of mapping would you need and just putting all the details together. So this is awesome to see.
Thank you. We're very excited about it.
I've seen other states do something similar, but never this massive. That might select out maybe a couple of carriers, but I've never seen like every single carrier possible.
Yeah, it's incredible because usually you think, there's only like 4 or 5, providers out there. But I mean, man, I've been working on broadband for about 5 years now, pretty intensely, and there's some providers out there that I had never even heard of. It's incredible to see the list of all the different the types of connections that people can get, and what there's. One of the great things I should say about this is our goal is to provide a statistically valid sample, similar to what a political poll might use. So we're looking at, I should have brought this up earlier. Let's take a look at this map here. So for instance, if you were to go to St. Louis County, you can see on the right side here, it tells you all the households, and then locations is how many tests. And so down here, it's pretty small text, but it says sample needed plus or minus 5%. So at a 95% confidence interval, similar to the way a political poll is, we need a certain amount of tests per county to say this is a statistically valid sample of how many households are in this county. And so that's one of the other purposes of doing it in this way, is we get statistically valid information.
Nathan, have you been approached by any ISPs that would kind of want to see their data set or interested in the results from their tests? You know, some people might say, well, this is great because we show up at 250 meg, you know, and that would be a nice marketing thing.
Mm-hmm.
Other people might say, well, we're showing up at 2.5 meg and we know we're better than that. I'm just wondering if you've heard anything yet.
I have not heard anything directly from them yet, but I have part of my outreach plan is the next level is to involve the providers. This is something if they're interested in participating, would be great if they could send out a little flyer or a postcard with their bill. And I agree with you. This is a chance for them for bragging rights to say, look, we got all these great connections out there. This is what we've been working on for so many years. We know that there's a lot of great providers out there that have some really like top of the line speeds. I think it's a good opportunity for them to showcase that.
I think there's another side of that. This is Steve with Paul Bunyan, that you'll need to consider, and that is that speed tests from an ISP's perspective are a hassle. And generally speaking, you know, we're an ISP that delivers fiber to the home, great bandwidth, great speeds, great value. But yet people run their speed tests on their, 20-year-old Wi-Fi device or whatever, and often can't figure out why they're not getting full speeds, which generates tech support calls and education and angst. And so that's one of the challenges I think you're going to face in dealing with ISPs, that any kind of speed test that appears to be sanctioned by the ISP is likely to generate tech support load, and so be prepared for that.
Yeah, I couldn't relate more to that. As somebody who's recently replaced their parents' outdated router and modem because they weren't getting the speeds that they were talking about, and they were railing against their local ISP. My folks live in Western Wisconsin, so I totally understand that. And you're right. Yeah, if you do have a 20-year-old router, you're not going to be getting full speed. And if you're taking the speed test when your kids are watching Netflix and somebody else is gaming, it's gonna affect that. So there's a lot of variables, and I guess the thing that I hope most is that there's some collaboration, because we don't want to put any undue burden on an ISP and overload your tech support department. That's not at all the case here, nor are we trying to weed out providers and single them out and point fingers or anything like that. Our goal at the end of the day is just to get as many speed tests out there as possible and get the best picture of what the service out there looks like.
That's been my experience too, Nathan, in dealing with the major wireless carriers. Is they have people in-house that study their RAN and how they're designed. So they don't really like to spread the word as to how that's going, just because it can be, as the previous person talked about, it just opens up the door for people to know exactly where their flaws are. But it's really good for the common user to know, or for a government to know, because that's where they can, have some power to say, we need it here because of some government reason, whether it's public safety or because that's where you have a school, or whatever maybe that critical infrastructure is concerned. So from a government perspective, it's good to know this. And that has been my experience, is that vendors don't really want you to know this, because it would generate a lot of feedback through there.
Well, and one last thing I would say on that topic too is, if we're looking at an area, I guess I could zoom in on Grand Rapids here. If you're seeing green dot after green dot after green dot after green dot, and then there's a couple of red dots and they're from the same provider, and that might be an instance where, you know, a squirrel did chew through the wire going to the house, or, you know, maybe the tech in the house is a little outdated. And so you can see when you have all these speed tests where if everybody around them is doing well, you can draw some conclusions or say, well, maybe this is an anomaly. Or, you know, and that's where the statistically valid sample is super important. Is before we were relying a lot on anecdotes, and now if we have the data to back it up, we can draw more accurate conclusions from it.
Yeah, and since we can actually go look at the map after someone does a test, they can compare themselves to their neighbors, and maybe that would help too. Is that people can kind of take their own results and try to figure out, how come I'm red and everybody else is green around me? Am I picking the wrong vendor? Do I need to update my equipment?
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Good stuff.
So Nathan, there's a question, will you be able to cut the data by the state's 2026 goals? Can you move the bar to the 100 by 20?
I'd have to check with our tech support, but I think that's got, I mean, if we can do it by 25.3, I assume we can do it by 120.
Well, what are the yellow dots?
The yellow dots are speeds that are, I don't have the, I should know this, I'm sorry, but so let's see, this one's out here. We got one that's 12 down by, well, let me zoom in a little bit more. There we go. 18 down by 2 up. So that's under 25 by 3, but I think it's maybe more than, I think, let's see.
10-1 maybe?
I think it's 10-1 probably is, yeah, it's 10-1 I think is, between 10-1 and 25.3 is the yellow dot. And then red is below that. And there should be also a blue dot, which is gig connection, but I have not seen any just yet that I can see on the map. There may be some in Duluth.
So 1,000, well, I'm surprised there would be some in Grand Rapids because of Paul Bunyan or Bemidji, but the blue dots, you know, if you get sold a gig and you get 95% of the gig coming through, that's still less than a gig, so you wouldn't have a gig service.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what the threshold for that one is. I have not seen any that I can recall on here. Hopefully some come up.
I think that 100 by 20 is a real critical piece of information.
Yeah. I agree. And that's something I think would be very easy to overlay on this. And that's the great part about this project is it's so customizable for whatever you might want to see from this data is possible.
Good. Well, we're coming close to the end. Are any more questions or comments? I guess I just encourage you to, you know, there's been a lot of funders with the Initiative Foundations and Blandon Foundation and Best Buy and others to make this happen, but it's really going to be local people that make it valuable. And so the more you can do to get out through your schools and Rotary clubs and chambers of commerce and everyone else, the more valuable this data will be, and the sooner the better, right? I mean,
Agree.
When you think about this is going to be up till August or something, you know, our attention spans are short. So I think this back to school time is super important to get this up and rolling and figure that's really, you know, you want to be done by Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You know, because the people are going to take the test. If they hear about it, they'll take it, and others, it's going to be hard to convince them to take it. So a blitz here early would be the way to go.
Is the DEED, Department of Employment and Economic Development Broadband Group, endorsing this or supporting, or that would help, I think, if we get statewide support?
Yes, so as a state agency, it's a little tricky for them to support outright. I will share with you though that I've talked with the Office of Broadband team, and they're very happy to see this going on. But as a state agency, it's difficult for them to support this, because I think actually I missed this question in the chat from Mike, but they have their own Check Speed MN initiative that's been going on for a couple of years now, and that's what's going to be on their website. I wish I could tell you that the state of Minnesota was endorsing this. That would be incredible, but there's a lot of hoops that they have to jump through to do something like that. So we decided to just run with this on our own.
And how does VPNs affect the data? Because if people are doing a VPN between their house and their work and going out to the internet through their work, then the test kind of changes.
Yeah, I believe if we go back to right here, it says, please make sure no one in your household is streaming videos or gaming. If you're using a VPN to connect to work, please turn it off during the test. So perhaps before you connect to your work, if you take a bit, we're not interested in folks that are using the VPN to say that they're in another country or another state, or even just to protect their connection. That wouldn't be helpful. But hopefully people are reading the instructions, because it is there.
So I want to thank Mike for his question. So while the Office of Broadband Development isn't supporting it or listing that they support it, they're not opposing it, right?
That is absolutely correct. They're very excited that this is happening. It's just this isn't an official endorsement.
Thanks.
Well, thank you, Nathan. Thanks for your work on this initiative. I hope your email is ringing off the hook, I guess is
I've gotten 6 in the time that I dropped my email in the chat, so I haven't been able to check them yet, but I'm excited.
And getting this done through all your community partners, I think David asked, described that. I think that's great. The Rams group up in St. Louis County did a great job working with school districts. And so, I know people are busy with grants for schools and everything, but if they want to prove that they need better broadband, this is the test to do it. And it seems like it's a high value to send out some emails, and doesn't require a lot of meetings or coordination or money. Just requires some good communications to get the word out, and then reap the benefits of lots of tests in your area. So thank you very much, everyone. Minnesota Broadband Coalition, Rural Broadband Coalition, another reason to join the coalition is that this would not have happened without their diligence and capacity. So I encourage you to get on board with that as well. Thanks all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.